Yeah, guys, in today's session, we are going to discuss about status codes. Okay, today we are going to discuss about status codes. So HTTP status codes. So what are these status codes? If you guys remember, so we were getting 200, 400, 500. So we were actually getting the status codes, right? So status codes are actually hundreds, 200s, 300s, 400s, and 500s. So here hundreds is actually informational status codes. So informational status codes. Okay. 200s are actually success status codes. So if the status code number that started with 2, that means success status codes. Okay. Okay. So 300 redirectional status code. So I did not ever get 300, guys. I have got 200, 300, and 500. So I will actually explain one by one. Client side codes. 500 means server side codes. Okay. So here status codes will always be with hundreds, 200, 300, 400s, and 500s. The status code that started with 1, that is actually about informational. So what is this informational status code? Suppose if you are actually uploading, um, a movie as an attachment, if you are actually uploading a movie, so before uploading the movie, right, if the system supports the file size and the file content, so it will check everything. So after checking everything, it will actually give the information as 100 status. If the 100 status is fine, if it accepts, only then the file will be uploaded. Okay, this is actually informational status code. So we did not actually get this 100 status code while we are actually doing the integrations. So let us say you are actually uploading a big file somewhere. Okay, in the YouTube, somewhere you are actually uploading a big file. So while you are uploading the big file, right, before uploading, it will actually check what is the file size, what is the content of that file. So each and everything they will check. Okay. So before that, before uploading that, it will actually check that. It will check everything, whether it supports the file size, everything. So after checking that, right, so it will actually give you the status 100. So if it supports only, then it will move ahead. Do you understand my point? Okay. So that is actually about hundreds. 200s means success status codes. Okay. 200. 200 means okay, success. 201 created. 204 success but no content. So 2 means the status code starts with 2 means it is always success. So 300 status code I did not ever get in my life, guys. 300 status code. Okay. So I don't want to go into this 300 status codes. You don't get 300 status codes in ServiceNow platform. 400. So 400 means client side errors like authentication error. So when we did not select a basic authentication, it was giving me 401 error, right? 401 is actually authentication error. Okay. 403. So 403, let us say if you are not passing sufficient information. So if you are not passing sufficient information, you will get 403. 400. 400 means request body content is not good, then you will get 400 error. 404. If the URL address is not found. 404. 500. So 500 is actually server side error. Okay. So here you can quickly take a look at here HTTP status codes. Okay. So here you can see only 200, 400, 500, something like that. $300 also they have given. So 100 they did not actually provide. See here success. If the status code is starting with two means, that is actually success. These codes indicate success. The body section is present in the, so we cannot go, we don't have to go ahead here. So OK 200. So the request was fulfilled. Created 201. Following post command that indicates success. Text. So that means 201 means created, guys. See here as it says 201 created. 200 means success. So accepted 202. So no response. That means you have actually sent the request and there is no response. That is actually 204. All the success status codes will start with 200. Okay. Errors 4 and 5. 4 means client side error. 5 means server side error. Okay. So see here in the 4 we have 400 bad request. 401 unauthorized. This is something related to authentication. 402 payment required. Okay. So forbidden. The request is something forbidden. Authorization will not help. So the server has not found anything matching URI given. So URL not found means it will give 404 error. So the server encountered unexpected condition when prevented it from fulfilling the request. So in the server side, if you get any error, you will actually get 500 error. Okay. So these are all actually status codes, guys. During the interviews, you will be asked the questions while integrating. So what are all the challenges that you have faced? So here while integrating, right? We also had some we also had faced some challenges, right? We did face some challenges, right? So wherever I am struck, wherever I have taken some time, all those are challenges. While integrating, did you guys notice one thing? I have taken some time to rectify that, right? Those are all called challenges. So when I click on test in the SOAP message or REST message, it was not sending the request because there is a challenge. Later I rectified that and then I have overcome it. So those are all comes under challenges. So while I have actually integrated with the external system, I had got 401 error. Later I realized that is actually authentication issue. Later I changed the password and provided the proper password. The request has been sent to the external system. So you have got 401 error, right? We have got 500 error as well. So in yesterday's session, we were not sending the SysID. We have got 500 error as well yesterday. You guys can go through the yesterday session. So we have got 200 status codes. So in the interviews, definitely they will be asking the status codes questions, guys, regarding the integration. Okay. So just remember status codes that starts with 2, status codes that starts with 4, status code that starts with 5. Remember these status codes. Are you guys clear with this one?
Yes, sir.
So did we see status codes while we are doing some testing in the integration? Did we see that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Now we will move on. So what we are going to discuss here is that we have created REST message, we have created SOAP message, we have created HTTP methods in the REST message, we have created we have generated SOAP functions in the SOAP message. Did you guys remember that? We have created REST message. Under the REST message, we have created HTTP methods, right? We have created SOAP message. We have created SOAP functions. We have generated the SOAP functions under the SOAP message, right? For outbound integrations. So here, right, what I'm trying to teach you here is that you don't even have to create a REST message. You don't even have to create SOAP message. You don't even have to create a SOAP message. You don't even have to create a flow designer action. Directly through the scripting, you can directly trigger the API. Did you guys understand what I mean? Huh?
Yes.
Directly through the scripting, you can trigger the API. So how exactly we will do that? I'll show you. Okay. So here, right, let me just go to REST message. So this is the REST message. Okay. This is also the REST message that we had created. So here, right, if you open this create HTTP function, HTTP method. So you can just click on preview script usage. Okay, preview script usage. See here, let me just copy this out. Let me just paste it on a notepad. If you take a look at here, instead of providing this API REST message name here, instead of providing this HTTP function, HTTP method here, directly you can define this REST message something like this one. So r dot set URL. So let me just go to the business rule so that you will be able to understand easily. Okay. Right click configure business rules. Okay. So this is the business rule. So in this business rule, what we are doing, so using the script, right? So using the script, you are triggering the REST message, right? Here I am not triggering any REST message here using script. So what I am doing here you guys can see REST dot set endpoint. Get endpoint, right? This set endpoint. So what is this endpoint about? We have the URL, right? External system URL. That URL you will have to provide here directly. So this REST message endpoint, right? This one. So what you will do, you will directly provide here. So I don't have to create REST message in this case. I am directly hitting the URL. I am directly hitting the external system URL. REST dot set basic authentication. Here you will have to provide the username and password. So username you can provide inc dot comma. Here you can provide the password. Okay. So REST dot set request body. Okay. So here you have to provide the JSON body. Whatever that you are passing using set string parameters, right? That body you have to pass it here in the request body. Okay. REST dot. See, everything you can do it using scripting without REST message. Set basic authentication. Set request body. So you have set string parameters also available. Set mid server. So if you are actually interacting with external system, which is actually in a secured zone, so directly you cannot actually connect with that. If it is secured, you cannot directly connect with that. So you have to connect through the mid server. So then you have to set the mid server for that. You can set the mid server as well. You can set the query parameters as well using scripting. Query parameters, we are able to provide it in the REST message, right? Query parameters, we are able to provide it in the REST message, right? Did you remember or not? So here in the REST message, you have query parameters here. Where is this? This is REST message, right? HTTP method. So here you can see query parameters here. Okay. So this query parameters I had actually explained while I was explaining get HTTP method. Get HTTP method. Okay. So you can revise the second or third session. Second session. So then you will get to know what is this query parameters. So you can set the query parameters using scripting here without creating REST message. Okay. Similarly, you can actually set the endpoint for SOAP message as well. So here you can use SOAP message. Okay. Set endpoint. Similarly, we have functions available, right? Similarly, we have actually functions available, right, in this API. Without creating SOAP message, you can directly using scripting, you can set the endpoint, you can set the query parameters, you can set the request body, you can set the authentication. Okay. You can do everything using scripting, right? Did you understand what I'm trying to tell you here?
Yes, sir.
Huh? You don't even have to create REST message or SOAP message. Directly you can hit the target instance URL. It can be Jira, it can be Salesforce, whatever the tool. Okay. Okay. So that is how you will actually directly hit the target system URL using scripting without creating REST message or SOAP message. What I told you, as the configuration is already available in the ServiceNow system, I have told you. So we use REST message for outbound integrations in the REST web services in ServiceNow platform. We use SOAP message for outbound integrations for SOAP web services in ServiceNow platform is what we have discussed. So it is actually, you don't even have to use REST message or SOAP message. Directly hit the URL using these APIs, REST message V2 API and SOAP message V2 API. Okay, so that point is clear, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So now we'll have to discuss about mid server. Mid server. So let us just understand about mid server here in the ServiceNow system. So what is mid server stands for? So management, instrumentation, and discovery is a Java application that runs as a Windows service and Unix daemon on server in your local network. So see here, mid server stands for management, instrumentation, and discovery. Server is a Java application that runs as Windows service or Unix daemon on a server in your local network. So here, right, what you have to do, you have to install this mid server on your target instance, target place. So why do you use mid server? Because you are directly not able to connect with the external system. So it is not allowing the external system is not allowing everyone to access the data. So if it is not allowing everyone to access the data, it will also not allow me, right? It will also not allow me, right? It will not also allow ServiceNow also to access the data, right? So then what we have to do? We have to have an exception. Through the mid server, you have to connect to the external system. So you will actually install mid server on the external system. You will actually, how do you install a mid server on the external system is that here you have to go to application navigator, you just type mid server. So you have to go to downloads. First step that you have to do is downloads. So if your system is actually Linux server or Windows server, so you will actually take the compatibility. So if it is Linux server, you have to take Linux, RBM or BEB. So which system it supports, you have to take this one. So here what you will do, mine is actually Windows one, right? So then I will actually install the mid server here. I'll actually install this one. So once I download this software, right, what I have to do is I have to create a user account. So let me just download this one. I am downloading this one. It will take some time, guys. Yeah, it will act as middle person.
Uday, one doubt, Uday, meanwhile.
Harish.
Yeah, see, basically we have like HTTP status codes are available, right, to show the error message to the developer or end user, okay? So we cannot send this 201 or 401 directly to the end user, right?
Yes.
How do we change that error message to end user form, okay?
Yes. So here what we will do, Naresh. So 200 means successful. So here in this, right, you will actually get the status codes using scripting.
Okay.
So here you can use soap dot get status code. Where is the status code? Somewhere you will see the status code. In the REST message, we have status codes, right? Get and join request body. In the SOAP also you can get a request code. So status code. So let us take REST. So where is the status code? We were able to get it right. Where is that? Earlier we were able to get the status code.
Arun, so do we have any common exception handling there we can able to transfer this I mean these errors into user understandable form?
So see one thing, Naresh. So we will actually get the HTTP status code. So if it is starting with 2,
Okay.
if it is starting with 2, then that means we understand that as a developer, we will understand that is actually success. So beyond that, if it is not 200, whatever the status code that you get, we will consider that as error. So in that case, what we will do is that we will actually store the response in a separate table.
Okay.
We will actually create a record in a separate table for
Okay.
the logging purpose.
Yes.
Okay. So here, if it is not 200, what we will do is that we will actually create a incident record with the ServiceNow admin team. So integration has failed.
Okay.
Integration has failed. So we have to take it. We have to take a look why it has failed. What went wrong? So what we will do as soon as the integration failed, immediately it will actually create a entry in a separate table where we can actually check the response. What was the response during the failure? What was the HTTP code? What was the error message that we have got? So you can actually check those things in a separate table, and you can as well as create an incident record with the ServiceNow admin team. So they will actually get to know that integration has failed. So what is the reason? So why the integration has failed? They will actually take a look at that. So we will not directly show the we will not directly show the status codes to end users. End users won't be able to understand. So
Yes.
as a developer, we are aware 200, 300, 400. But if you say 200, 400, what is this 200, 400? They will ask, they will say something like that. So we have actually a clear-cut mechanism. If integration fails, we developer will be easily be able to understand, and end users. So for end users, we will actually give you some error, not without showing the error codes, right? Error status codes, right? We'll be giving some information message using like gs.addInfo message, gs.addError message. So you have got an idea, Naresh?
Yeah, that's what. So basically, we used to store that information as part of the temporary table, and we can use that info.
Yes, for investigation.
Okay.
So to store the information, Uday sir, like we will we will do we will query with glide record and then we'll store it, right?
Yes. Or you can create a new entry using glide record. Did you get my point, Saurav?
Yes, yes.
So whatever the table in which table you are storing this response, on the table you will actually create an entry with this response, whatever the response that you are getting through the integration. Understand?
Yes.
So whenever the integration fails, ServiceNow admin team will get to know. So when the integration failed, what was the response that you have got? So they will actually do some analysis. Why what was the reason the integration got failed?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So here, right? So you have to install the respective compatible software. Okay. So here you have actually installed Windows related plugin, right? So Windows related software here. So once you install, right? Once you install, here you have to create a user account. sys_user.list. So here you have to create an account for mid server. Okay, you can create a user account for mid server. So I have already created a user account for mid server here. So here, once you create a user account, right, you have to provide a role called mid server role here to this mid server user. Here you have to provide a role called mid server user. Okay. So once you add this role, right, you have to set a password as well. You have to set a password as well. Okay. Once you have set the password, so that password you have to keep it handy. Mid dot, sir, this is actually the password. So what you will do? So after creating a mid server account in the user table and adding the role, so what you will do is you have actually installed that, right, on your local computer. So now you go to the you go to that particular mid server. You have to open this one. So this package requires minimum OS Windows. My software is actually not supporting for this mid server setup, guys. Okay. So okay. However, I will actually tell you. So you have to create a mid server account. You have to create a mid server account. So to that mid server account, you have to provide the role called mid_server role. So after you providing that, right, you have to go to the installed software. There you will find a file called config file. There you will find a file called config file. Okay. So in that config file, you will provide this particular ServiceNow URL, this particular ServiceNow URL, this base URL. Along with this base URL, you will provide the mid server account name and the password. After you providing the password, you will have to save that config file. After saving that config file, you have to start the mid server. So here there will be a start file you will see. So you have to click on that start and you can start the mid server. So once you start the mid server, right, you will actually see that under servers in the mid servers. So once you start that, right, in the external system, you will actually see a mid server available in this system. Okay. So let me just try to install another one. If I explain this practically, right, it will make your life easy. So theoretical part will not definitely help you. Let us just install this one. No, let us just go with this.
Like most of the cases, if the external system is it is not cloud, we will use the mid server, right? Most of
Yes, yes. So once this zip file is downloaded, right, I'll be able to explain you whatever the things that I have explained theoretically. How long it's been, Naresh, since we started?
Sorry, Uday, I missed the question.
How long it's been since we started
Regarding Uday,
training?
yeah, good, Uday.
No, no. Now I'm asking how long it's been since we started?
We started in November, third or fifth.
November, December, January, February.
Yeah,
So November 3rd, right?
yeah. But ours we started at October 18th only.
Mhm. So you can or copy this link. You can use this link to download the zip file. Wherever you want to download, there you can actually use the zip file. So now I have directly downloaded this one. So this is the one. I'm just copying this one. Okay, I'm creating a separate folder for it. Mid server. So in this mid server, I am pasting it. Okay. So I am actually extracting the files. Okay. So you have config file here, right? So inside this config here, what you can do is so here you have to provide our ServiceNow URL. Here you have to provide our ServiceNow URL. So here you have to provide mid server username. Here you have to pass mid server password here. Okay. So mid server password and mid server username. So here, whatever the name that you want to pass as server name, that server name you can keep here. Are we able to edit this one? Open with WordPad. So in this WordPad, what I am doing is I'm just copying this ServiceNow URL. Okay. Mid dot server. So mid server username. Password. Okay. So I have just saved this file. Mid server, I have saved this. Then what you have to do after that? After that, so here you have actually made the changes on right. So you have to start this mid server. Windows. So I have started the mid server. So once it started the mid server, right? So unable to install the mid server service. Specified service already exists. So that means there is already a mid server that is exists in my system, waiting to start. Starting the service from mid server service, waiting to start.
For the even we can check in task manager if something it is already exists.
Yeah. Processors, right?
No, task manager. Yeah, that those kind of process exactly.
No, no, no. So these are processors.
Yeah.
So I will actually explain you step by step, guys. You just follow the same. So what you have to do is first you have to go to downloads. So you have to check this checkbox, download mid-server as zip archive. Check this checkbox. And then you have to download as Windows. If you are actually using Windows software, then you have to download this one. So once you have downloaded, it will be available on your local computer. So once it is available on your local computer, so you can extract the files. So once you extract the files, so you will be able to see these files. So in the agent, you have to open this config file. So in the config file, you have to provide the ServiceNow URL, ServiceNow instance base URL. After that, what you have to do, you have to create a mid-server user account. Mid-server user account. You have to create a mid-server user account in the user table, and you have to provide mid-server role. So those mid-server username and password, you have to provide it in the config file. Okay, you have to provide it in the config file. So after you providing the config file, you have to start the mid-server. Once you start the mid-server, that mid-server will be available under servers here. So if you just type servers here, under mid-server, you will be able to see servers. So here you will be able to find that server here. You will be able to find that server here. Okay. So through this server, you can communicate with this local system. Understand? Do you understand, guys? Steps wise, you are clear, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I have one question only. So, means we enter the R ServiceNow instance URL and username and password in the mid server. But do we need to enter something for externals server also? Or,
No. We are installing this mid server directly on the external client. See, you are actually installing this mid server on the external system, right? Understand? So external system details are not required. Here we have to provide our ServiceNow details. This is actually Java application that you are actually using in the external system to communicate with external system. Any confusion here?
yes, sir. So, this is our service now, and if I need to connect with Jira on premise, so where I need to install this mid server?
So you have to go to downloads, right?
Huh?
So either provide the zip file. So you can copy you will actually provide the link so that you will be able to download the files. Will be able to download the files path. So they will actually install a mid server on their environment. So there they will actually have to provide our instance URL, our mid server user account and password, and we have to give the name as well, mid server name. So they don't even have to keep any name here in the mid server. You understand, right?
Yes, sir. So means if I am good, so then if I have Jira on-premise server, so I need to install this mid server on the Jira server or any other server which can talk to Jira.
You have to install on Jira server.
Directly on the Jira server. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll try to explain mid-server concept in detail in Monday session, guys. Okay. So theoretically, have an understanding. Okay. Here, my system is actually not cooperating with us to explain you guys better. Okay. Guys, please go on mute. Mahesh, please go on mute. So in Monday session, guys, in Monday session, I will actually explain about attachment API, and as well as I'll also explain about OAuth authentication. Okay. Okay, guys.
So